TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations.
Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Jerusalem's top defense official calls out international leaders over their calls for a ceasefire after initially endorsing Israel's goal of eradicating Hamas. China and Russia are stepping up global efforts to force Israel to end its war against Hamas. U.S. President Joe Biden highlights during a Hannukah reception at the White House that he does not believe a word Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says. Over 2 months after the Islamist Hamas and its terror affiliates, in close coordination and the facilitation by the Islamic Republic of Iran, launched a war in Israel by perpetrating a horrendous massacre against mostly Israeli civilians, IDF troops are spreading light in islands of rubble plagued by darkness.
Over 2 months ago, a war was launched against us that brought about much darkness. Today, IDF soldiers light candles in hundreds of locations throughout the Gaza Strip, also in the northern part, as well as in the southern part of the enclave. It will further intensify and will reach all of the places to which we desire to reach in the Gaza Strip. We find ourselves in the height of a difficult war, a just war. A war on our right to live in this place, a life of prosperity and blessings. A war for the future of the Jewish nation. A war for the nation that lives in Zion. This is a just war, and it is a war that we, with the help of God, will win.
Jerusalem's top defense official further asserted that Israel will stop at nothing until all of its war objectives are achieved.
At the start of this war, we set 2 objectives: to eradicate the Hamas organization from a military and governing standpoint, and to return the hostages to their homes, to their families, to their country. We will achieve these 2 missions. I promise you, we will fulfill these 2 missions.
Minister Gallant went on to detail the progress being made in both the northern and southern parts of the Gaza Strip, highlighting the growing number of terror operatives surrendering to the IDF, including roughly 350 Hamas operatives and over 130 Palestinian Islamic Jihad operatives this past month alone, indicates an intensifying trend of the beginning of the end of the Islamist Hamas and its terror affiliates in Gaza.
We are making progress in the battles, expanding our achievements, and circle the last strongholds of Hamas in Jabaliyah and Shuja'iyah, 2 places in which their battalions were regarded by Hamas as invincible. These tough nuts were prepared for months and years for the purpose of fighting us. And I tell you, they are on the brink of collapse. The number of those surrendering from these areas is teaching us about what is happening. When those surrounding are exiting their bunkers and tunnels, they tell us that they lack weapons, food, and that they feel isolated. They say one more thing: they know that their commanders betrayed them. While they are hiding deep under the earth, they have sent these terror operatives to die. I will tell you another matter. Between those who surrendered, there are also terrorists who participated in the October 7th massacre. Those who undertook a campaign of murder, killed children, and raped women are now in a position where they only have one choice: to die or surrender. And when they choose surrender, they raise their hands, place the weapons on the ground, and yield themselves to IDF forces. They tell us very interesting things, including that Hamas are on a brink of collapse in the northern Gaza Strip and Gaza City, and we will continue our operation also in other locations.
While praising the United States and its leadership for the unwavering support for Israel's right to self-defense, The Israeli defense minister also addressed the nations which call upon Israel to cease fire, highlighting the contradiction in their statements vis-à-vis the war objectives which they initially endorsed.
I also want to tell all those leaders of states that voted in a different manner. You cannot call with your right hand to destroy evil in the embodiment of Hamas, the ISIS of Gaza, a murderous and brutal organization which you all saw its evil deeds, and then with your left hand to call for a ceasefire. You must decide, and this decision is very simple. It is a decision of values to continue until victory. We cannot have evil of this kind live as neighbors to human beings, as neighbors to civilization. This cannot happen in Israel, and it cannot happen anywhere else in this world.
It's important to know that while the UN Security Council failed to pass a vote aspiring to force Israel to cease fire, Russia and China are jointly ratcheting up efforts to bring about a cessation of hostilities, concentrating their efforts on the humanitarian plight of the non-combatant Palestinians in the Hamas-controlled enclave.
This is really a tragedy, and it has been too long. We have suffered too much. So for the Security Council, definitely to maintain peace and security is our primary responsibility. And we have tried very hard. And of course, we need to do more.
I hope that will translate into a meaningful resolution that would facilitate humanitarian assistance to Gaza. But as you understand, and that is the outcry of all the humanitarian agencies, they say it correctly, and that's what we've been saying since day one, that no humanitarian pauses will save the situation. Only the humanitarian ceasefire, which should be as soon as possible, as eloquently was said by the representative of the youth just a few minutes ago.
It is important to know that both Russia and China do not recognize the designation of Hamas as a terrorist organization. Moreover, neither have addressed the fact that Hamas terror operatives have systematically confiscated humanitarian aid entering into the Gaza Strip, a fact that has been widely disregarded by international aid organizations. And while Western governments are clear-eyed over the blatant activities committed by Hamas, they are nonetheless increasingly vocal over the need to enter additional humanitarian goods into the battle-stricken territory.
The suffering of the Palestinian civil society in Gaza depresses us. Humanitarian aid for civilians must improve. Mark and I are convinced that the two-state solution is the only way in the medium term for Israelis and Palestinians to live together in peace.
Meanwhile, in Washington, U.S. President Joe Biden addressed a White House reception for the festival of Hanukkah, during which he asserted that were there no Israel, Jews would not be safe. The president then seized the opportunity to note, absent additional context, that he does not trust the Prime Minister of the State of Israel.
Folks, were there no Israel, there wouldn't be a Jew in the world who was safe. Were there no Israel. I make no bones about it. I've had my differences with some Israeli leadership. I've known Bibi for now 51 years. He has a picture on his desk of he and I when he was a young member of the Israeli service here, foreign service. And I was a 32-year-old senator. And I wrote on the top of it, Bibi, I love you, but I don't agree with the damn thing you had to say. It's about the same today. I love him. But look.
While further highlighting the Biden administration's voiced demand of Israel to protect Palestinian civilians, irrespective of the fact that Israel is going beyond constraints of international humanitarian law to ensure the safety of non-combatant Palestinians.
And we'll continue to lead the world in humanitarian assistance to innocent Palestinian civilians. We'll emphasize to our friends, to our Israeli friends, we need to protect civilian life. Then let me be clear. Hamas, using rape, sexual violence, and terrorism and torture, Israeli women and girls is appalling and unforgivable. And you should, when I was there, saw some of the photographs. It's beyond comprehension. We all have to condemn such brutality without equivocation, without exception. I also recognize your hurt from the silence and the fear and for your safety, because the surge of anti-Semitism in the United States of America and around the world is sickening.
It is important to know that Israel has voiced its outrage over the apparent rise of anti-Semitism in the United States, where marginal groups, primarily radical left-wing and Islamist groups, have seemingly united in harming the Jewish community and supporters of Israel throughout the country.
There is a major wave of anti-Semitism there, from both the left and the right. It has flared up on campuses and universities there, and is breaking forth. I think that it had deep roots that are now finding expression. The important thing that is now happening is that friends and leaders in the Jewish community are finally standing up. They are standing up against this anti-Semitism. This is the only way to fight it, with pride and honor, not with bowed heads, but to take the fight back to them. On behalf of all of you, I commend them.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I'd like to encourage you, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Moreover, if you're blessed by our daily updates and would like to help us bear the costs of these productions, since TV7 Israel is 100% donation-based, please consider making a donation. You can do so by visiting our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Essen, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, we'll see you during our upcoming TV7 Israel updates. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.